What is up, DS3 TV? We are back for another video. This one is why Saudi Arabia won't survive the future. This is about h0ser. Um, saw another video from him earlier this week, and I really did like it. So let's see another one. And you can recommend me videos down in the comment section down below. And yeah. Also, my Twitch is in the link in the description. You can follow that too. I play a lot of different games on there, and think about doing some other different streams. Maybe like reading like hate comments and stuff like that on there. So who knows? I'm thinking about doing like a lot of different like just experiments and stuff on there. Just to have some fun and kind of just show you guys me off of YouTube. But yeah, let's get into it and play. Sorry, play.
Saudi Arabia should not exist today, let alone be a major world player. Today, it is a Middle Eastern power, one of the richest nations on earth, and a nation to have at all diplomatic talks. None of this should have happened. In all honesty, it was insanely lucky for Saudi Arabia to even exist throughout history. Just looking at its geography tells a lot. A desert nation with no rivers, barely any fresh water, and almost no trees doesn't typically do well. You can't survive, let alone live in probably about 99% of Saudi Arabia. It's one of the worst areas on earth to build a civilization.
That is true, honestly. If you're looking at where to start a civilization, that would not be it.
But they had one thing that has been the Saudi life support ever since the 1940s. Good old oil. Historically, the Saudis were so weak and in such an awful geographic position that even the map-painting Ottomans didn't even bother conquering them. They are a tiny kingdom under the House of Al Saud, later allying with Muhammad al-Wahhab, a religious leader who created a sect of Islam that was strictly orthodox, going past what the Quran says. Think of it as kind of similar to what the Amish are to Christianity today. Then later, after the Saudis and Wahhabis captured Mecca, the Ottomans actually cared and wiped them off the map. The second
The Ottomans actually cared.
Saudi state didn't survive long as well, being kicked out by another family, Al-Rashid. The third Saudi state was born in 1902, this time to stay. They gathered support using Wahhabism and revolted, but that still wasn't enough to defeat the Ottomans. During World War I, Britain fighting the Ottomans helped an Arab-wide revolt. This created a complex balance of power between Hejaz and Nejd, and the Sauds declaring themselves king of both of them. Surprise! The Saudis won the following war, ruling a dual kingdom of Hejaz and Nejd for 5 years. Then later, Saudi Arabia was born. They were barely a nation, not stable at all, until they found oil 6 years later. Nowadays, Saudi Arabian history is the history of oil. Why do you need to grow your own food when you could just buy it with oil money? Why do you need your own water? Buy it with oil money. Saudi Arabia had such a strong chokehold over the rest of the world, especially the West, through this one material. Anytime there are slight disturbances in the region, the oil prices were disturbed too. When Saudi Arabia boycotted oil against Western nations during the Yom Kippur War, oil prices quadrupled. And if there's one thing the United States hates, it's high gas prices. The Persian Gulf quickly became one of the most important shipping routes in the entire world, with the US policing every ship in it. The USA took over the title of Protector of Saudi Arabia from the British after World War II, and has stayed the Saudis' supplier of life until now. But nowadays, the US has been disenchanted with everything Middle Eastern. The wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Yemen have made America back out of the Middle East. But there's another reason too. The US can now fully supply itself with its own energy. The shale revolution has allowed the nation to use shale gas to supply themselves in their own
Oh wow, yeah, I forgot that. Yeah, that's a thing now.
backyard as a greener method too. So where is Saudi Arabia going now that their main guarantor of independence is leaving them? Not far, that's for sure. No other nation on earth has a big enough navy, large enough population, and are willing to protect the Saudis. China doesn't have the navy. France is getting their oil from Africa.
It actually has the navy, but it's in the worst strategic position to use it and to protect the Saudis. That makes sense.
And the Iranians would never do business with the Saudis. It looks like their oil high has run out.
Pause if you want to know about which countries could guarantee Saudi. Okay, pause. The country which many people would say that has a great chance is Japan, but it shares the same type corridor as China, and its population is shrinking. Unlike China, though, it can create an alliance network much easier, and it has a naval history, so it's not unlikely that they'll be the guarantor, but only after. their coming demographic collapse. Another one I'll say is India, but only in at least 40 years. Wow. Once they industrialize and work proper on a navy, and work on a proper navy, they'll be set to guarantee Saudi Arabia their consumption base would be a bottomless pit, the biggest in the world by then. Ethiopia is a good contender in like 50 years. They are set up to be one of the strongest African powers in the world's ever seen, but in an amazing position to reach Saudi Arabia too. Okay. But they have no navy as of now, so it is unlikely that their naval skill will be up to par with their militaries. It probably would take them at least 90 years to get up to par, because they're probably going to be on India's level at that point too. Their best allies in the region are Egypt and Israel, but Egypt is too unstable to protect another nation other than its own, and Israel would be protecting a country 4 times its own population and much, much larger than it. However, all those options are not for another 20 to 50 years, and I have very high doubts that the current government will survive that long. A different Arabia would be the one guaranteed, if not straight up annexed by Iran or Turkey. Makes sense.
Domestically, Saudi Arabia is a nation still very much stuck in the medieval age. It's one of the only nations left on the planet to still be an absolute monarchy, the only other ones also in Arabia or microstates. Simply put, the Saudi Arabian people just do not have freedom. Executions are commonplace, with public beheadings not uncommon in Riyadh.
That is weird. Yeah, that is a very weird thing. They just legalized licenses for women, which is very odd to me.
It is a nation very entrenched in Sharia law, controlling many parts of life. Journalists are chopped up for spreading free speech. Women are killed for witchcraft. Homosexuals are stoned to death.
Only about every 3 years. You know, not every year, but every 3 years. It's fine.
It takes a lot of work and force to uphold this system, a system which has been out of use since the Enlightenment. So how does it survive to the modern day? The House of Al Saud knows that the governmental system can and likely will come crashing down in flames. Again, looking at the geography shows a huge desert nation with no natural boundaries, fresh water, or unifying features. Deserts are simply unstable places to live in just due to resource scarcity, and Saudi Arabia is only desert. So to keep the people from revolting and turning the kingdom upside down, they do a couple things. One is to use violence, as previously mentioned, just simple brute force to suppress the people. 2 is to keep people uneducated. Anyone with a higher education knows that their life will be better outside of Saudi Arabia. They have one of the biggest brain drains on earth. They would rather let foreign companies and workers come in and take what could be their profits than risk a revolution with an educated workforce. And 3, militarily, Saudi is very interesting. For the reasons mentioned before, the Saudis cannot build a traditional military. It's way, way too big of a risk. The current Saudi military more protects the Al Sauds from the Saudi people rather than the actual country from foreign threats. A functional military would no doubt seize power, probably in about a week. Not to mention, the Saudi Navy is laughable at best. Since the Arabians never had trees, they never built boats. And since they never built boats, they never learned how to run a navy. Saudi Arabia can't protect itself and is such a vulnerable country. If Saudi Arabia were to get into a real war with a power like Iran or Turkey, or even a borderline defunct nation like Egypt, the House of Al Saud can kiss their heads goodbye. So with barely any military power and a political system which will collapse if touched wrong, how does Saudi Arabia actually protect itself? Let's count how many failed states are near the Saudis. Yemen, Syria, Iraq, Palestine, Somalia, pretty much Lebanon, and Jordan and Egypt's futures aren't looking good.
Basically, they really aren't.
The Saudis are masters at ruining other countries through intelligence and interventions. In short, Saudi Arabia likes to
bomb the shit out of them. It's true.
Amazing words from a former president. Amazing.
I don't care.
Having a collapsed government or one which is fighting a civil war means there's one less military that can be pointed at you, or it's one more conflict an attacker has to get through to get to the Saudis, and they still have one more trick up their sleeves. Mecca and Medina are the 2 holiest cities in Islam, both in Saudi borders under a version of Islam which is a bit more radical than the usual version. In any other timeline, this should not have been the case. The Saudis should have remained a tiny kingdom in the desert, but here we are in a situation like if the Mennonites controlled the Vatican. Islam, like any other religion or ideology on earth, is bound to have a few radical groups. However, with a radical country controlling the centers of the religion, it's a little easier for extremist groups to gain support. The Saudis are the top donator and exporter of jihad groups. Look at the state-sponsored terrorism page on Wikipedia.
I didn't even know that was a terrorism, there was a page on state-sponsored terrorism, but alright.
Probably half of it is about Saudi Arabia. Groups like Al-Qaeda, ISIS, the Taliban, Hamas, and Boko Haram are all either funded, created, or inspired by Saudi Arabia. It's just another method to destroy the other countries around them to divert attention from or protect the Saudi homeland.
Also, just another side note, they're funded by the US too.
The only reason major nations with actual morals put up with the Saudis is because they need oil, not just for cars, but for...
Some of them, not all of them, I understand that. I know you're probably going to say that in the comment section, but yes, some terrorist organizations, including the one that happened on 9/11, that was sponsored by the US. Yes.
Energy, concrete, infrastructure, hospitals, and their military. The West would rather have murder-happy Saudi Arabia there than murder-happy but a little bit less so Iran, because the Saudis will sell them cheaper oil. But with dependence on oil, especially Saudi oil, declining in the West, Saudi Arabia will lose their biggest partners. Their best bet is to sell to emerging economies in Asia, maybe Africa, but without a military guarantee, it's unlikely they'll live to see those days. Saudi Arabia is in general a very, very weird nation. A medieval-style nation with modern-day issues and politics. The House of Al Saud has absolute control over the country, using brute force in every situation they can. Its geography meant a powerful nation should never have emerged here, and the same geography means it's on the brink of revolution every month. It cannot build a normal labor force or military for fear of that revolution. Their real military is used to prevent such a revolt. Instead, they decide to crumble the other countries around them to stay protected and export jihad fighters to work for them. Saudi Arabia will have a very hard future. Personally, I can't see the House of Al Saud surviving this century. But who knows, they've already survived this long. Insane luck and oil let them survive for decades. Saudi Arabia is a house of cards. Any wrong move or external pressure like war, food or water shortage, falling oil demands, or a changing climate will knock it over. And it looks like their luck might have finally ran out. If you enjoyed this video, blow up that...
Yep, alright, so that makes a lot of sense though, but yeah. So, yeah, well, I don't know what you guys think. Tell me in the comment section what you guys think if you think Saudi Arabia is gonna survive the future or not. But yeah. Talk to you guys in the next video. Subscribe to the channel. Want to get 2,000 subscribers for my next birthday, and September 13th. And also follow my Twitch. Play a lot of different games on there. Do a lot of different stuff on there. So yeah. And what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, and put video suggestions in the comments down below. Yeah. Talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.